Hello.
So hi everybody, my name is Emer. I'm the Communications Officer of the Irish Second Level Students Union, and I'm a 6th-year student from Tipperary as well. So I think we're just going to get the NSE to introduce themselves just before we start off. So Yvonne, do you want to go first?
Hi everyone, I'm Yvonne. I'm from Kildare. I'm the International Officer of ISSU and I'm a 6th-year student.
Beth?
Yeah, I'm Beth. I'm 17. I'm from Dublin and I'm the Sustainability Officer and I'm also 6th year.
Matthew Ryan?
Hi everyone, so my name is Matthew Ryan. I'm a 6th-year student from Cork and I'm the Welfare Officer of the NSE.
And the other Matthew.
Hi, I'm the other Matthew, also known as Matthew Hogan. I'm 17, I'm from Wexford, and I am a 6th-year student as well. That is also an important point.
Just apologies if anybody's videos are a bit laggy as well. I think we don't appreciate online learning and we're all just off the same broadband at the moment, so it's difficult. And if there are any questions that you didn't hear or anything you need us to clarify, you can send us a DM on our Instagram or on our Facebook. So you guys sent us questions on our Instagram and we have compiled a list of the most asked ones and are going to be answering them for you today. So I think the first question we are going to ask is for Yvonne. And that question is, will there be any clarity on the junior cert?
So with the junior cert, we are currently asking about that as well. So far there is no clarity, but we're still waiting for the department to get back to us on this. Again, we don't want it left to the last minute as last year, so we're trying to get that decision made as soon as possible. And I know there's a lot going on about the leaving cert, but we do also have to remember the junior cert and how those results are also sometimes taken into account. So yeah, we are still fighting and trying to hear from.
So the next question is for Ruben, and that question is, do we really have a say on what will happen with the leaving cert?
Hi everyone, my name is Ruben Murray. I'm the president of the NSE. This is not the full NSE, but this is a large group of them. Do we have any say on what happens with the leaving cert? We do not actually have any sort of decision-making power. We do not say this happens, but we do sit on the advisory group, which means we have influence. We are able to have meetings with the State Exams Commission, the Department of Education, and the Minister to try and influence and advise on what should happen so that we can get the best and the fair solution for students.
So the next question is for Matthew Colgan, and it is, what's happening with the orals and the practicals?
Yes, I just want to check that my audio is working because it was cutting out a second ago. Perfect. So with the orals and the practicals, as far as we're aware, we are under the assumption that the orals and practicals are continuing as normal. But we are, we will be briefed on this shortly, hopefully anyway. And it is being covered in the survey and the consultation process that we are currently undertaking. So we will be bringing students' thoughts on the oral and practical process to the department as soon as possible.
Speaking of our survey, we have a question here for Beth, and it is, when will we see the survey results released?
Yeah, so the survey closes on January 14th and then it will take us a day to validate all the data, make sure it's only students replying and making sure there's no duplicates, things like that. And then in that day also get a report together, so probably January 16th is the best bet for when the full report will be out. But it is informing our work at the moment. We are seeing results coming in and we're using them to inform what we're bringing to the department and our work that we're doing. So yeah, January 16th.
So a question that we've gotten a lot asked is in regards to online learning, and it is, will we be supporting Gael Colosdi and Gael Talk students during online learning? Matthew, if you want to answer that one.
Yeah, so the ISSU, I suppose, represents every student, including those in Gael Colosdi. So we are going to be working towards bringing their views and concerns to the department just as much as any other student. Our Ifiguk na Gaeilge, Katie Halpin Hill, will be going on the Insta story tomorrow to outline just basically what her plans are to bring as best she can the views of Gael Colosdi to the department and ensure that their voice is heard as much as every other student. So definitely Gael Colosdi will be represented and they will be supported as much as any other school moving forward.
So the next question, again, I think is going to be going to Beth, and it is, have we seen the leaving cert petition that is going around at the moment?
Yep, so we definitely have seen the petition going around about certain options, and we're aware of like the different student perspectives on this. And as a union, what we're really trying to do is find the most representative stance possible that works for the most amount of students possible. So we are bringing to the department, you know, this is what students are saying, these are the type of perspectives that are out there, and we're holding our own consultation process just to make sure that we can validate all of that and make sure it is students that are involved. So our consultation process includes those options. It includes the options that are being raised online, so we can integrate that into our work and make sure, you know, it is coming directly from students, and that we can represent as many students as possible to find the solution that works for the most amount of students as we can.
So the next question is going to be Yvonne, and it is there any suggestions on how students should approach their schools in regards to mock exams and whether or not they are going ahead?
So the issue with mocks is that mocks are school given, they're not organised by the state. As we know, there are 2 mock companies, and there was a bit of news today about one of the mock companies happening. What we can do right now is ask schools for clarity. They themselves do not know yet if we will be having mocks. It's up to the schools whether they push them back or whether they host them as normal. I do understand that mock orals might be happening right now, and they could be pushed back because they're meant to happen maybe next week. But with mocks, it is up to individual schools, and they could be cancelled, they may not meet, but we have to see how COVID progresses and see if it is safe again to return to school to host mocks in the same capacity as they always are, with the same number of people in a classroom for 2 hours at a time. At this moment, I suppose teachers and schools are meeting. I know my school is on this subject matter. We cannot say at the moment whether mocks are going ahead because it is up to individual schools.
Another question here for our welfare officer Matthew, and it is in regard to the transition years of 2021, and is what will work experience look like for transition years this year?
Yeah, so I suppose this year work experience is going to look very different from any other year, and I suppose it's a very difficult one to call. There is guidance after being issued on this by the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, the NCCA. So that can be found on their website if you go onto that, and it's basically giving a bit of guidance on how work experience can safely be undertaken this year, because obviously with COVID restrictions, it is going to be quite difficult to organize normal work experience. And what I can recommend you to do is if you have a TY coordinator or a year head in your school, get in contact with them and ask them if they have any updates on it. Because obviously, you know, TY is a very important year for personal growth and personal development. And work experience is a big part of that. It kind of gets students out into the working world. So it is very important that students are supported in that. So what I would recommend to you to do is get in contact with your TY coordinator and with your year head and just ask them basically what's happening in your school, because it will look very different school to school.
We have another question here for the other Matthew, and that question is, do we know when deadlines are going to be extended until? And Ruben, you might want to come in on this afterwards as well with any information you might have.
Yeah, I suppose there will be deadlines extended, and there will be changes in scheduling. For example, the art projects, and we're currently going to be, you know, campaigning for clarity around this, and coming to the Department of Education and asking for if there could be any more clarity provided upon the deadlines, because right now it's causing a lot of confusion, and we understand that. It affects us as well. And you know, we will be communicating the stress that it will be placing on students, because of how close a lot of the projects are, and I think the DCG project is due this Friday, so that's very close indeed, as I know anyway. Ruben, do you want to come in?
So we had a brief discussion with the State Exams Commission where we made very clear that the time loss needs to be recognised, and that projects that are due immediately, there needs to be an extension. It has been indicated that there will be, but most you can apply for an extension to any of your deadlines. It's simple. You have to just get in contact with your school, and your school then applies to the SEC. It is in our link tree in our bio, the actual specific policy that explains it all out. So go there, check it out. The only other point to say is that there's also the points with art projects. So what the SEC have said is that there'll be rescheduling. So There'll be extra time, and now you'll learn your art history instead of doing your project. And so that's how it will balance out.
So the next question is for Beth, and it is, will our survey be brought to the Department of Education?
Yeah, so the survey is kind of part of a wider consultation process. So like I said, a really important thing in our work is making sure that it is representative of as many students as we can make it, and making sure that we integrate every student perspective, especially on things that have a lot of perspectives in them. So it is part of that wider consultation process. So along with the survey, we're doing consultations with our regional officers. Every region has one. If you want to get in contact with your regional officer, all their emails are on our website. We'll also be running online events and kind of town halls to consult students directly alongside the survey. So when all of that's done, we will be coagulating it into a kind of massive report, and that data will be brought to the department to kind of inform our work. It will also inform our general stances on issues to make sure that what we're bringing is the opinion of as many students as possible and is representative of the students of Ireland, particularly those in exam years at the moment. So long story short, yes, along with the other data from the other processes we're doing.
So the next question is for Ruben, and it is, how will we ensure that no student is left behind?
Matter of fact, it's very hard to do that. We had the same struggle last year. The way we're going to do that is being considered in our approach. We're going to listen to what students have to say, and then we're going to sit in the meetings and we're going to see what needs to be done to make sure that no one is left behind. And it's very clear. The oral exams and the practical exams, if they are cancelled, that means students who excel at those types of projects, who learn, and that's where they're strong at, they get disadvantaged. So that can't happen. They need to be able to earn and get their marks through those ways. We can't disadvantage them. Also, the same can be said for mock exams. If certain people have not had the mock exams and certain people have, there's a disadvantage there, an inequity there. And if the reports that we've seen in the media today are true, then it's a matter of fact. We need to face that. The department needs to face it, and we need to be very clear. There are changes required. This will need to be done. And this is something that we'll be making very clear.
Sorry guys, I think Ruben just froze there.
And also, just to put...
Oh, he's muted himself. Ruben, are you back?
My apologies, I thought I froze. We're also meeting with the State Exams Commission this week where we will be raising these concerns.
Amazing. So Yvonne, the next question is for you, and it is, will teachers be teaching online from their homes or from their classrooms at school?
Okay, yeah, so with this question, teachers have the option of going in to teach because broadband might be better in the school, the facilities might be better, or if at home their home environment isn't suitable for teaching, they do have the option because it is safe for them to go back into school to teach if there's a limited number of them going into the school building. But that would be the only reason they would be going into school at this time, otherwise the buildings will be closed. So yeah, they have the option of teaching at home or in school. It is up to them depending on their home situation.
So the next question is for Matthew Ryan, and it is, what are they going to do about the 6-year students who suffer with mental health issues? So I assume that they is the Department of Education, and I suppose you could even go in on what are we doing to support these students as well.
Yeah, so obviously, mental health is a huge factor that is going to play into the decision that is made around exams, and basically will be taken into consideration by the department, and we will be bringing it to them as clearly as possible and telling them how much undue, I suppose, stress and anxiety is around with students at the minute. I know I certainly feel it myself, and I know the other Leaving Cert students on this call with me will agree that at the moment it is very difficult for students. It's not an easy time. It's very challenging for a lot of us. And we want you to know that we know that, we hear that, and we are trying to bring that to the department and get them to recognize that this is a huge factor. Like this exam is students' futures and stuff, and that cannot go unnoticed. It cannot be understated either how important it is that students' mental health and mental well-being is safeguarded moving forward throughout the year, because there is still quite a long time left in the Leaving Cert and in the Junior Cert year. And other students' academic year, there is a long time left for students to go through. So it is very important that that is safeguarded going forward. And we definitely 100% will be pushing that with the department and letting them know that it is important. It is so important that they take that into consideration when they're making their decisions. I suppose in terms of what we at the ISSU are doing for students, we are currently compiling a few different resources and stuff that we will be pushing out to students over the coming while to help them with online learning, to help them with their mental health during this time, because obviously, screen fatigue is a real thing when you're sitting in front of laptops all day for online learning. So there are resources coming from the ISSU, so keep an eye out for them over the next couple of days and weeks. and there's some really good ones coming out kind of with tips and tricks around how to kind of help manage your mental health during this time and how to manage your well-being. I've also recently formed a welfare team within the union who's going to help work to basically represent students as best possible and their welfare and their well-being. So yeah, I suppose to summarize, mental health is going to be a huge factor in the department's decision, and we are going to make sure that it is brought up to them that students cannot endure this, I suppose, uncertainty, and that we need clarity around the exams as soon as possible.
So the next question we have is for Ruben, and is what are the ISSU doing to support online learning?
Thanks, Emer. So we've actually done a number of things. In the next 1 or 2 days, we're actually going to be releasing a couple of posts about students' rights around online learning. There is a document that details what online learning is and what it composes of. There is a bare minimum you are entitled to. Further to that, we are compiling an official ISSU stance about certain things that isn't necessarily covered by the department's policies that still need to be respected in students. For example, a teacher should not be emailing you or assigning tasks at 7:30 in the evenings. That's when you're out of school, and so school cannot continue to go out. So we will be doing that and sending that to all schools and student councils for them to advocate for students. We'll be sending out training videos on how to use different platforms, for example, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, because we all say, oh, students know everything about technology, but we don't always. Also helpful things such as setting up a desk, but what are we actually lobbying the department for? One of the first things we're doing in relation to mental health is going to be lobbying for guidance counsellors and pastoral care teams, the people who sort of take care of the well-being of schools, to be made available through online learning. That's very important. And also students who are maybe not in a safe space, who are not in a room which they are safe in at home, or they're in direct provision or homeless accommodation, where they don't have that chance to actually engage with online learning. We'll be lobbying that libraries are kept open for them and those students who are at risk to continue to have their education. And if it becomes apparent that people aren't receiving a fair level of education, that needs to be taken into account, and that needs to be reflected in the plans for the state exams.
Thanks, was he frozen? Yeah, okay.
I think it's done.
Ruben?
Oh, it finished. I said that needs to be reflected in the state exams.
Perfect. So the next question we have is for Matthew Colgan, and it is, will there be more changes made to the Leaving Cert exam?
Yeah, so this has been something that we've been advocating since the new year for. We've been advocating for possible extra choice, and we also suggested that the marking scheme be made more lenient. But with the new closures, we're consulting with students at the moment to properly get a representative stance on how the closures have affected people in terms of their studying and the future of their own exams. And it's also good to note that Scotland and Wales have cancelled their exams in recognition of the mental duress that students and the entire system would face. We need to ask ourselves, really, have we given the situation as much consideration as is needed in terms of student mental health and student welfare? And I think there is a serious need to make accommodations, but unfortunately we have no clarification from the Department of Education on this at the moment. But we will be seeking clarification, and we will be seeking clarification as soon as possible with the Department of Education.
Thank you so much. And the final question we have is for Ruben Murray, and it is a question that we've been asked a lot following our different meetings, and it is, what exactly did the ISSU call for in the meeting with the Department of Education and stakeholders?
So we met with the Department of Education and the different stakeholders. So that's the teachers' unions, the principals' associations, the management bodies. So that's like the boards of management and the parents' councils. The meeting was to tell us that sixth years will be not returning to school on Monday, that they will be receiving online learning. That's what the meeting was for. It was not on the state exams. That is the advisory group. That's the role of the advisory group. And so in that meeting, what we asked for was a meeting of that advisory group. We wanted an emergency meeting with the State Exams Commission to discuss the school closures, first off. how they will impact the state exams, because they will. Everyone agreed in that meeting that in-person tuition is far better than online tuition. And then to make the changes that are required of us. It's simple. Matthew said it just a moment ago, that we will not allow students to be put under absolute duress and extreme pressure, far exceeding anything that is in any way justifiable unnecessarily. That will not be allowed to happen. I understand that can be frustrating, but you can expect a stance from us the next day that will really outline our position. And just so you know, there are a lot of very conflicting views here. Thousands of students on different sides of the argument feel strongly in very different ways. It is our job to represent all of them. And when we say we will leave no student behind, we will work as hard as we are able to make sure that no one is left behind.
Thank you. So that is the end of all of our questions. And I think we really just want to hammer home that we are working to represent every single student, and we are listening to everything you have to say. And we would really, really love if you filled out the survey that we have going around at the moment. It is issu.ie/2021 survey. Is that right, Beth? And if you could share it with your peers and your friends as well, that would be absolutely amazing. We will have more news coming on further consultations over the next day or two, and also, as Ruben stated, our stance. So if you have any more questions, or if you need clarification on anything that we said today, please feel free to send us a message on our social media, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. So thank you all so much, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.